After nearly 30 years, Resident Evil is still finding ways to evolve and scare the absolute hell out of fans. With its 9th main entry to the series, Capcom seems to be redefining what survival horror is. Resident Evil Requiem may just be the franchise's most anticipated game yet, and I've got 10 reasons why you should be excited for it. Number 10 being the most obvious, and that is the return to Raccoon City. Nothing screams nostalgic quite like Capcom bringing us back to where it all started in the Resident Evil franchise. After not seeing Raccoon City since it had a bomb dropped on it in 1998, we are now going back almost 30 years later to what seems to be a complete wasteland, and honestly, it's very intriguing and interesting to see what lies in the ruins of Raccoon City in the current time. A new interpretation of an old location full of past memories and trauma. One major location to be returning in Raccoon City is the completely desolated RPD, but it begs the question of what other iconic Raccoon City locations will we be able to visit in this game. Perhaps we'll finally be able to visit the clock tower that was unfortunately cut from Resident Evil 3 Remake. Or maybe the Raccoon City Park. Come on Capcom, this is your time to redeem yourself. Another question is, why exactly are we going back to Raccoon City now after all of this time? And what other secrets does Raccoon City hold within? Coming in at number 9 is the relatable new protagonist, Grace Ashcroft, the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft, a returning character from the Outbreak games. And Grace seems to have a more grounded, relatable personality, unlike the previous Ethan Winters protagonist in Resident Evil 7 and Village. Also, Grace Ashcroft has a deeper connection to the main game's timeline. It's nice to see a character show real and raw emotion, and she is someone you can immediately get behind and root for. I feel this is because she has a connection to past RE characters and RE games, and it makes us feel more connected to her from the start. Number 8 is the immersive first and third person perspectives. Resident Evil Requiem isn't holding any restrictions on whether to play in first or third person, rather it is giving you the ability to switch on the fly, a first for the series. This option invites more replayability to see what you may have missed out on playing the opposite POV. Both perspectives offer unique mechanics and gameplay, third person offering more dynamic movements in certain sections and more immersive animations that you can see, while first person offering the really immersive tension in scary sections such as we experienced in the previous Resident Evil 7. So it's safe to say if you are a big fan of Resident Evil 7 and how it played, I think the safe bet is to play this in first person. Number 7 is the advanced Stalker enemy. If it's one thing the more recent RE titles have gotten right, it's the Stalker enemy. First introduced in Resident Evil 7 with Jack Baker, having an enemy follow you around just about anywhere is definitely terrifying and a sure way to keep you at the edge of your seat. Though some may feel Resident Evil 3 remakes and Village's Stalker enemies weren't as captivating as previous entries just mentioned, Nemesis feeling super scripted and robotic, sort of just toying with Jill rather than actually trying to kill her, and Lady D only being in a small section of Village's story made her feel shoehorned in as a lazy Stalker throwaway enemy. But you can't deny those mommy milkers now, can you? However, this new iteration of a Stalker enemy seems to be more of a staple in this game. The AI seems to be more advanced and to take inspiration from Alien Isolation, especially with how she can go into the ceiling and burst through walls, surprising you and attacking you from any direction, whether it be on the X or Y axis. Coming in at number 6, and is one that I am most intrigued by, is the dynamic save rooms. When in the Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Center, as you are being chased by the new Stalker enemy, you can go into certain rooms and turn on and off lights. Turning on these lights will deter the enemy since the brighter lights are essentially her weakness. When she is in a well-lit room, she burns, the skin starts melting, and she eventually runs away. You see, in Requiem, we may be afraid of the dark, but this big bitch is afraid of the light. Although the game makes us believe all is good and safe with these lights turned on, the Stalker can quickly grow tired of your ways and is smart enough to find out how to cut the power out. This means your safe room is no longer safe. Yeah, you heard that right. So it seems, at least in the Chronic Care Center section of the game, no save room is a permanent place to collect yourself, so best to make it quick. Number 5 is more survival, less action. With 3 different trailers now being released, we still haven't seen very much of the game. Capcom is only wanting to show the very beginning of the game, or one certain section, but we can get a good idea of the overall tone Requiem will bring. We get a much darker, mysterious vibe, focused more on escaping and survival, rather than over-the-top action we've seen in the most recent Resident Evil 4 remake. Now, that's not to say there isn't going to be any action. Nakanishi confirmed Grace will eventually get her hands on some weapons and be able to handle herself. How and when she gets said equipment is still to be determined, and I believe the pacing of this game will resemble a similar one to the original Resident Evil titles. Starting off with very little next to nothing, and as the game progresses, we add more and more to our arsenal, and we encounter more and more deadly enemies. Number 4 is going to be the new Wavelength System. Speaking of the pacing in RE9, Nakanishi compared it to a wavelength system. While some took his wording very literal, and people speculated there was going to be an actual wavelength mechanic as sort of a fear meter or what have you, what Nakanishi meant is that the overall pacing of the game will resemble a metaphorical wavelength. The peaks of the wavelength are the high intense scary moments as we see Grace with the Stalker, and then the fear factor will release and dip down and give the player a moment to breathe. But of course, that moment of composure won't last very long before the wavelength spikes and we get another horrifying section. A rather interesting thing fans are sure to be in for a ride for. Number 3 is the next level zombies. In another interview, Kumazawa confirmed there not only will be returning zombies, but he can't wait to show off what the next level of zombies will be. Could we potentially be seeing running zombies? Or further mutated advanced zombies? Or is he talking about the zombies' AI being more dynamic and immersive? We're not exactly sure what he meant by that, but regardless, it's something to definitely look forward to, and I'm sure it will be another reason to be at the edge of our seat during our first playthrough. Number 2 is an ambitious one, and that is the potential returning characters. Okay, this one could be a potential spoiler, so if you want to avoid anything, just go ahead and skip to the next section. Alright, so, in a recent interview at Gamescom with the channel Biohazard France, Nakanishi was believed to have a bit of a slip-up when asked a question regarding what new players can expect. Now keep in mind the interview was a live stream and it was translated by a translator as well as YouTube's auto-translation system. Of course, YouTube's auto-translation isn't 100% accurate, I'm well aware, but what was picked up is very interesting. As I said, skip ahead to avoid potential spoilers.
そうですね。もちろんそうですね。でストーリー的にもね、ラクーンシティを出してるとか、さっきもアウトブレイクのキャラクターとかいろいろと。So if YouTube's translation is correct here, we could be seeing returning characters from Raccoon City, Outbreak, and so on. As I said, the translation could be wrong, but how much of it is wrong? After all, the translator himself doesn't even repeat the part Nakanishi speaks about the returning characters. Perhaps he knew it was spoiler territory and avoided translating it intentionally, or Nakanishi never actually said this. However, what was a red flag to me was that Biohazard France actually removed the channel off of their page. Mind you, this is the only video they have removed. Another thing to keep in mind is that all other interviews after this from Gamescom were A, not live, and 2, edited to where the translator's audio was dubbed over Nakanishi and Kumazawa speaking so that YouTube's auto-translation could not pick up anything they were saying in their native tongue. I know, it's a lot to take in, but I'll let you decide for yourself if this confirms whether or not we'll be seeing returning characters from previous games. And so that brings us to number 1, the big one, the return of Umbrella. This is one of the final shots of the latest trailer for Resident Evil Requiem. A daunting logo synonymous to the Resident Evil franchise that we haven't seen in some time. Now I know we saw the logo in Village, but I'm talking about this version of the logo. The OG red umbrella logo. This version of the logo has so much more history and weight to it. And this is another way Capcom is showing it's headed back to the series' roots. And we're excited to see what this means and what unfolds in Resident Evil Requiem. And so there you have it, 10 solid reasons you should be excited about the 9th mainline title in Capcom's 30-year-long franchise. So what are you most excited for in Resident Evil 9? Let me know down in the comments. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button, and if you are new here, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and have a fantastic day.